I didn't ask if it would fit, I asked how much it was.
How much is this, Marie?
It's very expensive.
It's very expensive.
Big mistake. Huge. That line from Pretty Woman became the ultimate comeback for anyone dismissed by a snobby salesperson. But the romantic comedy that made Julia Roberts a superstar almost never existed. The movie was originally a dark drama called 3000, where Vivian was a substance addict who gets thrown from a car with money tossed on her, and in some drafts, dies of an overdose by the final page. No shopping montage, no fire escape rescue, just death. Welcome to Pretty Woman.
I was in here yesterday. You wouldn't wait on me?
Oh,
You work on commission, right?
yes.
Big mistake. Big. Huge.
The movie where Richard Gere stripped completely naked and walked around set. Just to shock everyone, Julia Roberts broke out in hives so severe they had to massage a visible stress vein bulging on her forehead, while she lay in bed between her co-star and the director. And the entire crew abandoned Roberts in a bathtub as a prank, while cameras captured her cursing at everyone when she surfaced. Today we're counting down 15 weird facts about a film where Roberts got cast, got fired 3 days later when the company went bankrupt, then got cast again for the same role. Test audiences revolted so violently they dragged everyone back to rebuild the entire ending from scratch, and Ferrari and Porsche both refused to let their cars appear, which accidentally tripled Lotus sales overnight. Before we dive in, smash that like button and subscribe for more behind-the-scenes chaos about the movies that defined the 1990s. Let's start with number 15. Number 15. The original script was called 3000 and Vivian dies of an overdose. Pretty Woman wasn't always Pretty Woman. The original screenplay by J.F. Lawton was called 3000, the exact dollar amount Edward pays Vivian to spend a week with him and stay off hard substances. It wasn't a romantic comedy. It was a brutal cautionary tale about survival in Los Angeles. Vivian was heavily addicted. Edward was a cold, borderline sociopathic corporate raider. Their relationship was purely transactional, zero romance, just money for time.
No, I want to find Beverly Hills. Can you give me directions?
Sure. For $5.
Ridiculous.
Price just went up to 10.
The ending was bleak. Edward shoves Vivian out of his car onto the pavement, throws the cash on top of her, and drives away. One version had Vivian and Kit on a bus to Disneyland with the money, heading toward a future slightly less terrible than the streets. But here's where it gets darker. Former Disney executive Jeffrey Katzenberg later revealed that, in one draft of the screenplay, Vivian doesn't just get abandoned. She dies of an overdose. Let that image settle while you remember the shopping montages and opera scenes. Julia Roberts described the original as a really dark and depressing, horrible, terrible story about two horrible people. When she heard Disney bought it, her immediate reaction was, are they going to animate it? Disney brought in Garry Marshall to transform the script. 6 rewrites later, the drugs disappeared, the cruelty softened, jokes appeared, and Edward became redeemable. Suddenly you had a fairy tale instead of a tragedy. Number 14. Richard Gere walked around set naked, just to shock everyone. Richard Gere never had to do nude scenes in Pretty Woman. The script didn't require it. His character Edward stays clothed or partially clothed throughout the film. But Gere decided to get naked anyway, just not when cameras were rolling. One day during production, Gere stripped completely naked and casually walked around the set in front of the entire cast and crew for absolutely no reason except to shock people and get reactions. No scene called for it. No director requested it. Gere simply decided the production needed chaos and apparently concluded, I'll remove all my clothes in front of everyone, was the solution. The stunt worked perfectly.
About companies that are in financial difficulty.
If they have problems, you must get them for a bargain, huh?
Well,
The cast and crew were genuinely shocked. Gere got exactly the reaction he wanted. Then he calmly got dressed and filming resumed like nothing had happened. Here's the twist. This is the same guy who firmly refused to do actual scripted nude scenes. Costume supervisor Dan Lester revealed there was supposed to be a bathtub scene with Gere fully nude. Gere shut it down immediately. I'm not doing that. This movie is not about that. I'm going to be covered, whether it's bubbles or the scene takes place outside. I'm not going to be naked in the bath. He got his way. The nude bathtub scene got completely rewritten. Then Gere turned around and got naked recreationally when nobody asked, just to disturb his coworkers. It's peak Richard Gere energy, refusing nudity when professionally required for the script, then voluntarily stripping for a practical joke when absolutely nobody requested it. Number 13. Julia Roberts' stress vein was massaged by two men in bed. Julia Roberts had never filmed intimate scenes before Pretty Woman. She was 23 years old, attempting emotionally vulnerable work with Richard Gere for a major studio production. Her body physically rebelled in multiple visible ways. During the love scene, Roberts got so stressed that a vein became noticeably bulging on her forehead. Cameras could see it pulsing. Production stopped immediately because you can't shoot a romantic scene with a throbbing stress vein dominating the frame. Garry Marshall and Richard Gere both physically climbed into bed with Roberts to help massage the vein until it disappeared. Marshall later described the surreal experience of directing from literally inside the bed with his two stars, rubbing his actress's forehead while trying to keep the movie on schedule. But the vein was just the beginning. Roberts also developed a full-blown case of hives during filming. Her skin broke out in raised, itchy welts across her body from anxiety and stress. Production had to apply calamine lotion and wait for the breakouts to fade before cameras could roll again. This was 1989. Intimacy coordinators didn't exist.
Time problem is a major issue with you. Why don't we just get through that right now?
Great, let's get started.
How much for the entire night?
There was no trained professional helping actors navigate emotionally charged scenes safely. Just Marshall desperately trying to keep production moving while his star's nervous system staged a full dermatological rebellion. Roberts powered through despite her body screaming no. The scenes eventually got filmed. The hives faded. The vein stopped bulging long enough to capture the footage. Number 12. The entire crew abandoned Julia Roberts in the bathtub as a prank. Julia Roberts was deeply uncomfortable filming the bathtub scene, where Vivian sings Prince's Kiss while covered in bubbles. She was a newcomer, dealing with limited nudity in front of a full professional crew. The vulnerability was crushing her. Garry Marshall decided to break the tension with a prank. During the moment where Vivian dunks underwater and re-emerges,
I don't have to undress me. Yeah, baby. I wanna be your fantasy.
Marshall had a plan. While Roberts was submerged beneath the bubbles holding her breath, Marshall silently signaled everyone to flee. The entire crew evacuated. Sound crew, lighting crew, assistants, producers, everyone except the cameraman, who kept rolling. When Roberts surfaced expecting dozens of people watching, she found herself completely alone in an empty room with one guy and a camera. Roberts immediately started screaming and laughing. The blooper reel captured the moment perfectly. You can hear her yelling and cursing at everyone as she realized what Marshall had done. The tension shattered instantly. Marshall's prank worked exactly as intended, but the bathtub created an additional disaster nobody anticipated. Roberts spent so much time in the water across multiple takes that the detergent in the bubble bath completely stripped all the red dye out of her hair. Production had to do emergency hair dye repairs at 10 o'clock at night because Roberts' signature red had faded to disaster. The bathtub scene that was supposed to be simple turned into an all-day ordeal involving pranks, profanity, abandoned sets, spontaneous laughter, and midnight emergency salon work. Number 11. Test audiences revolted and Disney rebuilt the ending. That final scene where Edward climbs the fire escape with roses, conquering his fear of heights to declare love, feels like the only way Pretty Woman could possibly end. Originally, that entire sequence didn't exist. The movie just stopped. In the early cut, Edward pays Vivian. They say goodbye. That's it. No limo circling back. No, she rescues him right back speech. No climbing rusty metal while terrified. One version literally ended with Vivian and Kit on a bus to Disneyland with the cash. Roll credits. Disney showed this version to test audiences, and the reaction was catastrophic. People had just watched two emotionally closed people spend 2 hours melting each other's defenses, and the movie basically said, "Thanks for attending. Drive safely." The feedback cards might as well have screamed, "Why did you stop the movie?" Audiences didn't want realism or ambiguity. They wanted romance. They wanted grand gestures. They wanted something bigger than, well, good luck with your life. Disney panicked. The cast got called back months after filming wrapped. A fire escape set was built from scratch. An entirely new ending was written and shot.
So what happened after? He climbed up the tower and rescued her.
She rescues him right back.
Garry Marshall later admitted that, by that point, they'd stopped making a gritty drama. They were making a fairy tale, and the original ending belonged to a completely different film. The test screening disaster forced Disney to spend additional money and time completely rebuilding the climax. Without those angry audiences refusing to accept the ending, Pretty Woman limps out on a shrug and gets forgotten by 1992. Number 10. Julia Roberts got fired 3 days after being cast. Julia Roberts was cast as Vivian in the original 3000 production. She was 21 years old, with almost nothing on her resume except Mystic Pizza and the unreleased Steel Magnolias. Roberts won the role and celebrated for exactly 3 days. Then the production company behind 3000, Vestron Pictures, went completely out of business over a single weekend. Friday, she had a starring role in a major film. Monday morning, she was unemployed, and the project was dead. The script eventually landed at Disney's Touchstone Pictures. Disney brought in Garry Marshall to transform the dark material into something lighter. When Marshall came aboard, Roberts had to audition all over again for the role she'd already won once.
We're gonna have dinner.
Oh, don't sit out there, dear. You're gonna go out? Dinner? Mm-hmm. Well, you'll need a cocktail dress then.
Disney executives were firmly against casting Roberts. Too unknown, too risky, too unproven. The role was offered to Michelle Pfeiffer, turned it down, didn't like the tone. Daryl Hannah refused, calling it degrading. Meg Ryan passed. Molly Ringwald passed. Diane Lane got to costume fittings before scheduling killed the deal. Every A-list actress either couldn't do it or wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Roberts was the last woman standing. Disney cast her again, for the second time in the same role she'd already been hired for and fired from through absolutely no fault of her own. The bankruptcy that killed her job led directly to her getting rehired for a transformed version that made her one of Hollywood's biggest stars. And here's the firing irony. Losing the role because the company collapsed became the best thing that ever happened to her career. Number 9. Julia Roberts convinced Richard Gere to take the role with a post-it note. Richard Gere turned down Pretty Woman repeatedly. He thought Edward was boring. You could put a suit on a goat and put it out there and it would work, Gere said. He didn't see a character worth playing, just a wealthy guy in expensive tailoring. Garry Marshall desperately wanted Gere. Marshall had considered Christopher Reeve, Daniel Day-Lewis, Kevin Kline, Denzel Washington, Albert Brooks, Sylvester Stallone, Al Pacino, Burt Reynolds all turned it down. Pacino did a full casting reading with Roberts before rejecting it for The Godfather Part 3. Marshall needed Gere specifically. He believed chemistry between Gere and Roberts would transform the movie. So Marshall flew Roberts to New York to Gere's apartment to test if they had a spark. Marshall introduced them, then immediately left.
You see this young lady over here? Yes. Do you have anything in this shop as beautiful as she is? Oh, yes.
Richard, Julia, Richard, I'll see you later. And he walked out. Gere recalled, I was so mesmerized I don't remember Garry. I only remember this girl. They talked, they flirted. Marshall called from the bathroom asking how it was going. While Gere was on the phone saying, yeah, Roberts grabbed a post-it note and started writing. She turned the note around and slid it across the desk to Gere. It said, please say yes. Gere looked at the note, looked at Roberts, and told Marshall on the phone, I just said yes. That post-it note closed the deal. One handwritten plea from an unknown actress to a hesitant movie star created one of the most iconic romantic pairings of the 1990s. Number 8. Hector Elizondo hit Garry Marshall in the face with a basketball. The partnership between Garry Marshall and Hector Elizondo became one of Hollywood's most enduring collaborations. Elizondo appeared in all 18 films Marshall directed over 34 years. The partnership started with violence. In 1979, Marshall was playing basketball. Elizondo was also playing basketball. Elizondo threw a terrible pass that hit Marshall directly in the face. Most people would get angry. Marshall looked at Elizondo and said, that's a bad pass, but you're a terrific actor. I have a movie for you. From that moment forward, Elizondo appeared in every single Garry Marshall film. Young Doctors in Love, The Flamingo Kid, Overboard, Beaches, Pretty Woman, Frankie and Johnny, The Princess Diaries films, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, all 18 films across 34 years. Marshall refused to make movies without Elizondo. Getting hit in the face with a basketball created a partnership that lasted until Marshall's death in 2016. For Pretty Woman, Disney executives balked at Elizondo's salary demands for the hotel manager role. They told Marshall to cast someone cheaper. Marshall refused to budge, so Marshall paid half of Elizondo's salary out of his own pocket. Marshall took a direct financial hit to his director fee because he believed in Elizondo that strongly.
I'd like you to do a favor for me, please. I'm sending someone over. Her name is Vivian. She's a special guest.
Disney watched early footage, realized they'd made a mistake, and reimbursed Marshall after seeing how perfect Elizondo was. Elizondo's Barney could have been forgettable. Instead, he became the quiet insider who decides Vivian deserves a shot. Functionally, her fairy godfather, steering her through a world designed to reject her. Number 7. Ferrari and Porsche refused product placement, which tripled Lotus sales overnight. The production needed a high-end sports car for Richard Gere's wealthy character, something screaming money, power, Beverly Hills sophistication. The obvious choices were Ferrari or Porsche, the most recognizable luxury performance brands worldwide. Producers approached Ferrari with a product placement opportunity. Ferrari said absolutely not. They refused to associate their brand with a film about a businessman hiring a woman on Hollywood Boulevard. Ferrari's image mattered more than free advertising. Porsche received the same request and gave the same answer: a hard no. Porsche was especially strict after unauthorized use of their 928 in Risky Business, where Tom Cruise's character uses the car during questionable activities. Porsche wouldn't make that mistake twice. Producers started considering American cars. Then production assistant Sandy Isaacs suggested, maybe a Lotus Esprit will work. The producer had never heard of Lotus. Lotus Cars saw the opportunity immediately and supplied a silver 1989 and a half Esprit SE for filming. The car became integral to the plot. Vivian identifies it instantly, gushes about performance specifications, reveals she's secretly a car enthusiast reading Road and Track. Lotus's gamble paid off spectacularly. Their North American sales tripled in 1990 to 91 directly because of Pretty Woman. One product placement in a hit film transformed their entire business overnight. Meanwhile, Ferrari and Porsche got zero benefit from refusing. They protected their brand image and missed the biggest product placement opportunity of the year, while their lesser-known competitors' sales exploded. Number 6. Rodeo Drive stores. Refused to film, then became tourist traps. The shopping humiliation scene on Rodeo Drive works perfectly because you know revenge is coming. Vivian gets sized up, dismissed, basically escorted out for not looking expensive enough. That scene resonates because the attitude was barely exaggerated from reality.
It's very expensive.
Look, I got money to spend in here.
I don't think we have anything for you. You're obviously in the wrong place.
When production tried filming on actual Rodeo Drive, several high-end boutiques pulled the same move as Ferrari and Porsche. They refused to be associated with a movie about a Hollywood Boulevard woman, even one being softened into romantic fantasy. They denied filming permissions. Meetings went nowhere. Store managers got frosty. Permissions were rejected. The crew had to find boutiques willing to cooperate and work around the ones that refused participation. That barely concealed contempt sales clerks throw at Vivian on screen didn't require much acting. Production had experienced versions of it during location scouting. The big mistake, huge. Revenge scene feels satisfying partially because it's aimed at real snobbery the production encountered. They turned the actual attitude from that street into a full revenge fantasy with shopping bags. Then Pretty Woman became one of 1990's biggest box office hits. Suddenly, those same boutiques that refused participation had a dramatic change of heart. Rodeo Drive quietly rebranded itself as the Pretty Woman experience. Tourists flooded in to do the Vivian circuit, stand where she got snubbed, walk past boutiques, pose for photos, say the line. Tourism money doesn't judge, and those stores happily welcome the crowds they initially rejected. Number 5. Julia Roberts fainted after eating 1 avocado in 2 days. Pretty Woman transformed Julia Roberts from unknown to global superstar overnight. The production schedule and sudden pressure created physical consequences that manifested during a late-night shoot. Julia Roberts fainted on set. She completely collapsed during filming. Production stopped immediately while everyone figured out what was wrong. Exhaustion, illness, stress from becoming famous while still shooting the movie, making her famous. The crew investigated what Roberts had eaten recently.
Took the liberty of ordering everything on the menu. I didn't know what you'd like.
Thanks.
Right? Good.
They discovered that in the previous 48 hours, Roberts had consumed almost nothing except one single avocado. That's it. One avocado across 2 full days of physical work under hot lights on a demanding schedule. Garry Marshall immediately intervened and essentially force-fed Roberts tuna fish. Production couldn't continue until their star had actual food in her system and could stand upright without passing out. This was yet another sign Roberts was struggling with leading a major studio film while dealing with sudden attention. Between the hives, the stress veins, the fainting, and showing up tired, Roberts's body kept sending distress signals she was overwhelmed, but she kept showing up, kept working, kept delivering the performance that would make her one of Hollywood's most bankable stars for 3 decades. The combination of stress-induced hives, visible forehead veins requiring massage, and fainting from apparent malnutrition paints a picture of someone whose body was actively rebelling against what was happening. And here's the wellness irony. The film that launched Roberts to superstardom and made her America's sweetheart nearly destroyed her through stress, anxiety, and what appears to be severely disordered eating during production. Number 4, the famous jewelry box. Scene was a prank shot for the blooper reel. The moment where Gere snaps the jewelry box shut on Julia Roberts' fingers became one of Pretty Woman's most iconic scenes. That surprised laugh and genuine yelp is what everyone remembers. It wasn't supposed to be in the movie at all. Garry Marshall noticed Roberts would sometimes arrive on set tired after late nights. The then 23-year-old was experiencing sudden fame and occasionally partied. Marshall told Gere, "You gotta wake her up a little." For the scene where Edward presents the necklace, Marshall gave Gere specific instructions. When she reaches for the box, slam it shut. It was a soft box. I would never hurt her. Marshall wanted the prank for the gag reel, the collection of outtakes and mistakes never making the final cut. Gere snapped the box on Roberts' fingers. Her reaction was completely genuine, pure surprise. She yelped, then exploded into that unfiltered laugh that became her trademark. No character work, no rehearsal, just Julia getting ambushed on camera. Marshall watched playback and knew they'd never top that moment. He threw out the scripted take and kept the prank. What was supposed to be a blooper became one of the defining shots of the entire film. That unscripted moment appears in every trailer, every promotional clip, every retrospective about Pretty Woman for 3 decades. The necklace itself was worth $250,000 and required a security guard on set protecting it. But the most valuable thing captured wasn't the $250,000 jewelry, it was Roberts' genuine surprise. Number 3, the iconic poster. Is a complete lie, that's not Julia Roberts' body. Look at the Pretty Woman promotional poster. Julia Roberts in a blue dress, Gere behind her. The image that sold millions of tickets worldwide. That's Roberts' head. From the neck down, that's someone else entirely. The body on that poster belongs to Shelley Michelle, Roberts' body double. Someone at Disney looked at promotional photography and decided Roberts' actual body wasn't poster-worthy enough. So they hired Michelle, photographed her in the dress, then digitally grafted Roberts' head onto Michelle's body. The outfit isn't even accurate to the film. In the movie, Roberts wears blue and white. On the poster, the dress is pink and black. 2 completely different outfits on 2 completely different bodies, wearing Julia Roberts' face like a mask.
When you're not fidgeting, you look very beautiful. And very tall.
Shelley Michelle also served as Roberts' body double for certain scenes in the actual film. Shots requiring more revealing positions used Michelle instead of Roberts, who was uncomfortable with extensive exposure. Gere got the Photoshop treatment too. In the actual movie, Gere's hair is naturally gray, almost silver in certain lighting. On the poster, his hair is jet black. Someone decided promotional materials needed Gere looking younger, so they digitally dyed his hair to not match anything audiences would see in theaters. The 2 people selling the movie on that poster are technically not the two people in the movie. One's a head transplant. The other got a digital salon visit. The most iconic image from Pretty Woman is a photoshopped lie from head to toe. Number 2. Garry Marshall paid Hector Elizondo's salary from his own pocket. Garry Marshall cast Hector Elizondo in every project he directed. Marshall considered Elizondo his good luck charm and absolutely refused to make films without him. For Pretty Woman, Marshall wanted Elizondo as hotel manager Barney Thompson. Disney executives looked at Elizondo's salary demands and said no. Too much money for a supporting role. They told Marshall to cast someone cheaper. Marshall refused to budge on Elizondo. The studio wouldn't meet his price.
And what is your name, miss?
What do you want it to be?
Don't play with me, young lady.
Vivian.
Thank you.
So Marshall solved the problem by cutting Disney a deal. They'd pay part of Elizondo's salary. Marshall would personally pay the rest out of his own director fee. Marshall took a direct financial hit to his own compensation because he believed in Elizondo that strongly. He literally paid money from his own pocket to hire an actor the studio thought was too expensive. Disney executives watched early footage of Elizondo's performance and immediately realized they'd made a massive mistake. Elizondo was perfect. His chemistry with Roberts was exactly what the film needed. Barney became one of the movie's most beloved characters. Disney reimbursed Marshall for every dollar he'd paid out of pocket. Once the studio saw how effective Elizondo was in early footage, they admitted Marshall had been right and paid him back completely. Elizondo's role could have been a standard hotel manager enforcing rules. Instead, he played Barney as the quiet insider who decides Vivian deserves a chance, steering her through a world designed to reject her. Number 1. Garry Marshall. Tickle Julia Roberts' feet to make her laugh. In the scene where Vivian lies on the floor watching I Love Lucy, Julia Roberts is supposed to be genuinely laughing at the television. The problem? Roberts wasn't finding the I Love Lucy episode funny enough to produce the authentic laughter Marshall needed on camera. Marshall needed a real laugh, not acting, not performance, a genuine, uncontrollable reaction that would sell the moment. He couldn't get it from whatever was playing on the TV screen. So Marshall got down on the floor next to Roberts, positioned himself completely out of camera range, and started tickling her feet while cameras rolled. Roberts couldn't hold it together. Her laugh in that scene isn't a reaction to I Love Lucy at all. It's Roberts trying not to kick her director in the face while he ambushes her feet. Like a deranged uncle at Thanksgiving. Marshall was known for getting authentic reactions through pranks, surprises, and physical interventions. If genuine laughter required the director to literally tickle his star's feet during a take, that's what Marshall did without hesitation. This was just one of many improvisations Marshall employed throughout production. He believed real spontaneous reactions created better cinema than perfectly controlled performances. So, he constantly surprised his actors with unexpected choices during filming. The foot tickling worked perfectly. Roberts' laugh feels completely natural and unforced because it was completely natural and unforced. Audiences watching have no idea they're seeing a woman laugh at being tickled rather than classic television comedy. And there you have it. 15 weird facts about Pretty Woman. Which facts surprised you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let us know what blew your mind. Thank you for watching, and until next time.